Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair and watched the big screen in front of him. The alien voices came through the speakers talking about Earth like it was some kind of broken toy. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked around the command center of Station Omega 7. The station was hidden deep in space, far from Earth but close enough to watch everything that happened. "They think we're stupid," said Lieutenant Amy Patterson from her desk. She was the one who listened to all the alien messages. Her job was to translate what the aliens said and figure out what they really meant. Right now, she looked angry. Jake nodded slowly. For 3 years, he had been listening to the same thing over and over again. The aliens thought humans were weak. They thought Earth had no weapons. They thought humans were like children who needed help. "Sir, we have 3 more alien ships coming closer," said Commander Rick Sullivan. He was in charge of watching for enemy ships. His screen showed little dots moving toward their solar system. "They're doing the same thing as always. Just looking around and taking pictures." Jake looked at the dots on the screen. Each dot was a real ship full of aliens who thought they were so much better than humans. "Keep watching them," he told Rick. "Don't let them see us." The station they were on was completely invisible to alien eyes. It used special technology that made it look like empty space. There were 11 other stations just like it, all hidden around the sun and planets. The aliens had no idea they were being watched. On the main screen, an alien with blue skin and 4 arms was talking to other aliens. His name was Ambassador Zex-Hi, and he was from something called the Korthani Empire. He was telling the other aliens that Earth was a perfect example of a species that had failed to grow up. "Look at them," Zex-Hi said, pointing at a picture of Earth. 200 years since they first left their planet, and they still have not learned to travel between stars. They send out simple radio signals like children calling for their parents. They need our guidance. Amy turned around in her chair. "I want to show him some guidance," she said, right up close. Jake almost smiled. Amy was small and looked harmless, but she was one of the best soldiers he had ever worked with. She could fly a fighter ship better than most pilots and could shoot better than most Marines. But like everyone else on the station, she had to pretend to be weak. "Orders are orders," Jake said. "Admiral Kate Williams wants them to keep thinking we can't fight back." The truth was that humans could fight back very well. In fact, they could fight back so well that it would scare the aliens badly. But that was supposed to be a secret. Jake remembered the day when everything changed. It was 50 years ago when humans first heard alien voices in space. The president back then was a woman named Helen Burke, and she made a choice that seemed crazy at the time. Instead of saying hello to the aliens, she decided to hide. "Let them think we're weak," President Burke had said. "Let them think we're no threat to anyone. While they're not paying attention, we'll get ready for the day when we need to defend ourselves." So for 50 years, humans had been pretending. They sent out simple radio signals that made them look primitive. They built space stations that looked like they were made with old technology. They acted like they were trying hard to build better spaceships, but couldn't figure out how to do it. Meanwhile, the real human military was growing stronger every day. Deep under the ground, in hidden bases that the aliens couldn't see, humans were building weapons that would make the aliens very afraid. They were building ships that could travel faster than alien ships. They were building armor that could stop alien weapons. They were building guns that could destroy alien ships in one shot. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Hayes was giving another interview to the Alien News Services. She was the head of something called the Earth Space Initiative, which was supposed to be humanity's main space program. She always looked worried and talked about how much humans wanted to join the galactic community. "We hope that someday we will be advanced enough to travel to other stars," she said, looking sad. "We are working very hard, but we still have so much to learn." The aliens watching her interview nodded and felt sorry for the poor humans. They had no idea that behind Dr. Hayes' small research building was the entrance to Facility 01, where the most dangerous weapons in the galaxy were being built. General Veximer of the Korthani Empire was watching the interview too, but he wasn't feeling sorry for humans. He was thinking about how easy it would be to take over Earth. The humans are even weaker than we thought, he told his officers. They have no real military. They have no weapons that could hurt our ships. We could take their whole planet in a few days. He was already making plans for the invasion. The Korthani Empire was good at taking over other planets. They had conquered 17 different worlds, and each time it had been easy. The aliens living on those worlds had tried to fight back, but Korthani ships were too strong in Korthani. Soldiers were too good. Begin Phase 2, General Veximer ordered. Get closer to their planet. I want to know everything about their defenses. Not that they have any real defenses, but we should check anyway. What General Veximer didn't know was that every word he said was being recorded. High above Earth, in a space station that looked like a simple weather satellite, the NSA's Deep Space Intelligence Division was listening to everything. Director Carl Wright and his team had been watching the aliens for 15 years. The Korthani are getting ready to attack, Carl told his assistant. They think it's going to be like all their other invasions, easy and quick. Carl's assistant, a young woman named Nancy Adams, shook her head. They have no idea what they're getting into, Carl smiled. It was not a nice smile. No, they don't. And that's exactly how we want it. The aliens thought they knew everything about human space technology. They could see the International Space Station, which looked old and simple. They could see the communication satellites that carried human TV shows and phone calls. They could see the space probes that humans sent to other planets, moving slowly and using basic technology. What they couldn't see were the quantum communication networks that let humans talk to each other instantly across the solar system. They couldn't see the asteroid mining operations that were gathering materials for weapons. They couldn't see the huge shipyards hidden behind the gas giants where Earth's real fleet was being built. Jake Morrison looked at his watch. In a few hours, Admiral Williams would be giving her daily report to the Global Defense Council. The council was made up of representatives from every country on Earth, and they were the ones who decided how to protect the planet. Sir, said Rick Sullivan, the alien ships are getting closer. They'll be at the edge of our solar system in 3 days. Jake nodded. Send a message to Admiral Williams. Tell her the Korthani are almost ready to make their move. The message would travel through the quantum network to Luna Prime, a hidden command station on the far side of the moon. From there, Admiral Williams would coordinate with defense stations all over the solar system. The aliens thought they were hunting sheep, but they were really walking into a trap that had been 50 years in the making. Soon the galaxy would learn that the quiet planet Earth had been preparing for this moment all along. The Korthani Empire was about to discover that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who lets you think you're winning right up until the moment you lose. Commander Steve Nelson floated in the zero gravity of observation, post Tango, and watched the Korthani war fleet through his telescope. The post was disguised to look like an old mining station that had been abandoned years ago. In reality, it was one of the most important human military bases in the galaxy. The post was located in the Proxima Centauri system, right next to the main Korthani military base. For 3 years, Steve and his team had been living here, pretending to be space miners while really spying on the enemy. The Korthani are loading their ships with extra weapons, said Lieutenant Anna Brooks. She was sitting at her computer, reading the enemy's secret messages. Anna was very good at breaking into alien computer systems. They're bringing enough firepower to destroy a whole planet. Steve nodded grimly. The Korthani weren't just planning to invade Earth. They were planning to completely destroy any human resistance in one quick attack. Or at least that's what they thought they were going to do. How many ships are they bringing? Steve asked. Anna looked at her screen. 47 ships total. 3 of them are heavy cruisers. The rest are smaller attack ships and troop transports. That's not even half their fleet, Steve said. He had been watching the Korthani for years and knew they had over 100 ships. They're not taking us seriously. General Veximer thinks this is going to be a training exercise, Anna said. He's letting his younger officers lead most of the attack. He wants to give them practice before they fight a real enemy. Steve almost laughed. The Corthony had no idea what a real enemy looked like. Meanwhile, deep under the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, the North American Defense Command was buzzing with activity. General Paul Jackson stood in the main control room, surrounded by screens, showing every human military unit in the solar system. "The Corthony fleet will be here in 72 hours, he announced to his officers. They expect to find a planet full of helpless humans who will surrender as soon as they see their ships. Colonel Mary Foster, who was in charge of lying to the aliens, smiled. Our agents report that the Galactic Council is placing bets on how long it will take us to give up. The Altarian delegation thinks we'll surrender in less than 6 hours. The humans in the room chuckled. The aliens had no idea that Earth's population had been preparing for this day for 50 years. Every major city had underground bunkers that could protect millions of people. Every important building had secret escape tunnels. Every human soldier had been trained since childhood to fight aliens, but the most important secret was the ship's Dr. Kevin Martinez walked through the final inspection of the TDS Defiance, the largest warship ever built by humans. The ship was over 3 kilometers long and carried enough weapons to destroy an entire alien fleet. It was made from materials that didn't exist in any alien database and powered by engines that worked on principles the aliens had never discovered. All systems are ready, Dr. Martinez reported to Captain Beth Thompson. She was the ship's commander and had been chosen from thousands of candidates. The Defiance is ready for battle. Captain Thompson nodded. Her crew of 2,400 people had been training for this moment for years. Every person on the ship was an expert in their job. Commander Tim Harris knew everything about the ship's weapons. Lieutenant Colonel Janet Price commanded the fighter squadrons. Chief Engineer Ray Cooper kept the revolutionary engines running smoothly. The aliens are going to get a very big surprise, Captain Thompson said, back at Observation Post Tango. Steve Nelson was watching the Corthony fleet prepared to leave. The alien ships were impressive, painted in dark colors and covered with weapon ports. They looked like they were designed to scare enemies into surrendering without a fight. They're transmitting their battle plans, Anna said. They're not even using encryption. They think no one is listening. Steve read the translation on his screen. The Corthony plan was simple and brutal. They would surround Earth, destroy any human ships that tried to resist, and then demand surrender. If the humans refused, they would start bombing cities until the planet gave up. Send this to Admiral Williams, Steve ordered. She needs to know exactly what they're planning. The message was transmitted through the quantum communication network that connected all human military units. It would reach Admiral Williams in less than a second. Even though she was hundreds of light years away, on Earth, President Susan Clark was practicing her speech in front of a mirror. When the aliens arrived, she would need to look scared and confused. She would need to act like Earth's leader was overwhelmed by the situation and didn't know what to do. It was going to be the performance of her life. Behind the scenes, the Global Defense Council was making final preparations. Representatives from every country on Earth sat in a secret meeting room under the Pacific Ocean. They were the ones who really controlled Earth's response to the alien invasion. Phase 1 is complete, reported Admiral Williams through a secure video link. All human ships are in position. The aliens have no idea we're here. The human fleet was spread throughout the solar system, but most of it was hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. 57 warships were powered down and waiting, invisible to alien sensors. The ships ranged from small destroyers to massive battle cruisers, each one more advanced than anything the aliens had ever seen. What about the Dreadnoughts? Asked the representative from China. Admiral Williams smiled. The 12 Dreadnoughts are hidden in the shadow of Jupiter. The aliens won't know they exist until we want them to. The Dreadnoughts were humanity's greatest secret. Each one was a floating fortress armed with weapons that could destroy entire alien fleets. They had been built in secret over the past 20 years, using technology that was decades ahead of anything the aliens possessed, but even the Dreadnoughts weren't humanity's greatest advantage. The greatest advantage was that the aliens completely underestimated humans. In the Korthani fleet, Admiral Ziegfeld was giving his final orders to his ship captains. "This will be an easy victory," he told them. "The humans have no real military. They have no weapons that can hurt our ships. We will demand their surrender, and they will give it to us." The Korthani officers nodded confidently. They had studied human technology and found it to be primitive and weak. Human ships were slow and lightly armed. Human weapons were based on old chemical explosives and simple projectiles. Human armor was thin and easily penetrated. At least, that's what they thought. What the Korthani didn't know was that everything they had learned about human technology was false. For 30 years, human intelligence agents had been feeding them fake information. Every piece of data they had about human military capabilities was designed to make humans look weaker than they really were. The deception had been so complete that the Korthani Military Academy used Earth as an example of how not to develop space technology. Korthani officers studied human failures and laughed at human weakness. They were about to learn that the joke was on them. Commander Alan Rodriguez sat in the captain's chair of the TDS, Vigilant, a human destroyer hidden in the asteroid belt. His ship was small compared to the Dreadnoughts, but it was still more powerful than most alien cruisers. He and his crew had been waiting in the cold darkness of space for 3 weeks, ready to spring the trap. "Enemy fleet is approaching the outer planets," reported his sensor officer. "They're moving in standard attack formation." Alan nodded. The Korthani were following their usual tactics, which humans had been studying for years. Every move they made was predictable because humans had been watching them fight other species for decades. "Send a message to Admiral Williams," Alan ordered. "Tell her the fish are swimming into the net." The message traveled instantly through the quantum network to Luna Prime, the hidden command station on the far side of the moon. Admiral Williams received it with satisfaction. Everything was going according to plan. The Korthani fleet had no idea that they were flying into the most carefully prepared trap in galactic history. They thought they were hunting helpless humans, but they were really walking into a demonstration of human military power that would shock the entire galaxy. The quiet planet was about to speak, and its voice would be heard across the stars. The Korthani fleet came out of hyperspace like a pack of wolves ready to hunt. Admiral Ziegfeld stood on the bridge of his flagship Worldbreaker and looked at the blue planet floating in the distance. Earth looked so small and helpless from here. "Begin." "Broadcasting surrender demands," Admiral Ziegfeld ordered his communications officer. "Tell these humans they have 1 hour to give up, or we will destroy their cities one by one." The message was sent toward Earth in multiple languages. The tone was harsh and threatening, designed to scare the humans into immediate submission. Admiral Ziegfeld had used the same message on 16 other worlds, and it had always worked on Earth. President Susan Clark received the alien message in her office. She took a deep breath and prepared to give the performance of her life. Within minutes, she was on television, looking scared and confused. "My fellow humans," she said, her voice shaking slightly, "we have received a message from an alien fleet. They are demanding our surrender. I am calling an emergency meeting of world leaders to discuss our response. Please remain calm while we figure out what to do." Admiral Ziegfeld watched the human president's speech and nodded with satisfaction. The human leader looked exactly like he expected, frightened and overwhelmed. This was going to be even easier than he thought. "Advance the fleet," he ordered. "Standard attack formation. Let them see our strength." The 47 Korthani ships moved toward Earth in a formation that had intimidated dozens of worlds. The ships were painted black and covered with weapons that gleamed in the sunlight. They looked like harbingers of death floating through space, but something was wrong. Lieutenant Commander Talvek, the Korthani sensor officer, stared at his screen in confusion. "Admiral, I'm detecting energy signatures in the asteroid belt." "What kind of energy signatures?" Admiral Ziegfeld asked. "I'm not sure, sir. They just appeared out of nowhere." 57 separate contacts, all powering up weapons and engines. "Admiral, Ziegfeld felt a cold chill run down his spine. "Show me." The main screen displayed the asteroid belt, and suddenly it was full of ships. Not small ships or primitive ships, but real warships that looked deadly and advanced. They had been completely invisible just moments before. "Impossible, Admiral," Ziegfeld whispered. "How did they hide so many ships?" Commander Alan Rodriguez sat in his captain's chair aboard the TDS Vigilant and smiled grimly. His ship had been powered down for 3 weeks, floating silently among the asteroids like a piece of space junk. Now it was alive with energy, its weapons charging and engines warming up. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," Alan ordered. His communications officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Alan's voice carried across space to the Corthany fleet. "Corthany. Vessels, this is Commander Rodriguez of the Terran Defense Force. You are trespassing in human space. You have 10 minutes to turn around and leave our solar system. If you refuse, we will consider your presence an act of war." The response from Admiral Ziegfeld came quickly. "Human ship, you are outgunned and outnumbered. Surrender now and we will show mercy to your crew." Alan almost laughed. The Corthany still thought they had the advantage. They could see 57 human ships, but they thought their own 47 ships were somehow superior. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "I guess we do this the hard way," Alan said. "All ships, this is Vigilant. The aliens have refused our warning. You are cleared to engage." The battle began when the Corthany opened fire. Bright beams of plasma energy shot across space toward the human ships. Admiral Ziegfeld expected to see the human vessels explode under the assault. Instead, the human ships absorbed the attacks like they were nothing more than flashlight beams. Their shields glowed briefly and then returned to normal. Not a single human ship was damaged. "What?" Admiral Ziegfeld stared at his screen in disbelief. "Our weapons had no effect at all." Captain Sarah Johnson commanded the cruiser TDS Retribution from the center of the human formation. She had been waiting 3 years for this moment. "All ships return fire. Let's show them what real weapons look like." The human ships opened fire, and the Corthany learned their first lesson about fighting humans. Human weapons didn't just damage enemy ships, they completely destroyed them. Beams of pure energy sliced through Corthany armor like it was paper. Kinetic projectiles moving at incredible speeds punched holes through alien hulls from one side to the other. In the first 30 seconds of battle, 6 Corthany ships simply ceased to exist. They didn't explode dramatically, they just came apart as human weapons systematically dismantled them piece by piece. "Impossible!" Admiral Ziegfeld shouted. "No weapons are that powerful." But the human weapons were that powerful. While the aliens had been building bigger versions of the same old technology, humans had been developing completely new ways to destroy things. Their energy weapons operated on principles that alien scientists hadn't even discovered yet. Their kinetic weapons fired projectiles at speeds that should have been impossible. More Corthany ships died. The alien formation began to break apart as captains tried desperately to avoid the human fire, but there was nowhere to run. The human ships were faster, more maneuverable, and far more deadly than anything the Corthany had ever faced. "All ships retreat," Admiral Ziegfeld ordered. "Fall back to the outer system." But as the Corthany fleet tried to escape, they discovered that their retreat was blocked. A second human fleet had appeared from the direction of the outer planets. Captain Lisa Turner, aboard the battlecruiser TDS Nemesis, led this new group of ships. "Corthany fleet, you are surrounded," Captain Turner announced. "Surrender now, and your surviving crews will be treated according to galactic law. Continue fighting and you will all die." Admiral Ziegfeld looked around desperately. His fleet was trapped between 2 groups of human ships, and both groups were armed with weapons that could destroy his vessels with ease. In 10 minutes of fighting, he had lost 20 ships and hadn't managed to damage a single human vessel. "This can't be happening," he muttered. "The humans are supposed to be primitive. They're supposed to be weak." But the biggest shock was still coming. The space around Jupiter began to shimmer and distort. Massive shapes started to appear, emerging from their hiding places like ancient sea monsters rising from the depths. The Corthony sensors, already overwhelmed by the appearance of 2 human fleets, now detected something that defied belief. 12 ships, each one larger than anything in the Corthony fleet, slowly moved toward the battle. These were the Dreadnoughts, humanity's ultimate weapons of war. Each ship was over 3 kilometers long and bristled with weapons that made the earlier human ships look like toys. Captain Beth Thompson stood on the bridge of the TDS Defiance, the largest of the Dreadnoughts. She had been waiting in the shadow of Jupiter for weeks, and now it was time to make her entrance. "This is Captain Thompson of the Terran Defense Force," she announced to the galaxy. "Any alien vessel that fires on human ships or threatens human civilians will be destroyed immediately." The Corthony fleet was completely surrounded now. 57 human ships from the asteroid belt held one side. 23 more ships from the outer system held the other side. And 12 massive dreadnoughts approached from Jupiter, their weapons charged and ready. Admiral Zeekthan realized that his entire invasion force was trapped. In less than an hour, the humans had revealed a military force that far exceeded anything the galaxy had ever seen. The primitive, defenseless Earth had turned out to be the most heavily armed planet in known space. "Send an emergency message to the Corthony Empire," Admiral Zeekthan ordered his communications officer. "Tell them the humans have been hiding their true military strength. Tell them we need immediate reinforcements." "Sir," his communications officer replied, "our long-range transmitter was destroyed in the first attack." Admiral Zeekthan slumped in his command chair. His fleet was trapped, outgunned, and cut off from help. The easy conquest had turned into a complete disaster, but the humans weren't finished yet. Throughout the galaxy, alien governments were receiving a simple message from Earth. The message was broadcast on every frequency and translated into every known language. "This is Admiral Kate Williams of the Terran Defense Force," the message said. "For 50 years, humanity has chosen to remain quiet while we developed our defenses. Today, we defend our home against unprovoked invasion. Let this serve as notice to all civilizations. Earth is not defenseless, and humanity will not be conquered." The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the quiet planet revealed its true strength. The balance of power in the universe had just shifted, and nothing would ever be the same again. The news of the Corthony defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light. Within hours, every major alien civilization was calling emergency meetings to discuss what they had just witnessed. The quiet planet Earth had revealed military power that exceeded anything in known space. Ambassador Tevran of the Altarian Republic stood before the Galactic Council and spoke for everyone when he said, "We have been watching the wrong species." While we debated their potential, the humans were preparing for war. The council chamber was filled with representatives from 47 different alien species, and all of them looked worried. They had spent decades thinking of humans as harmless primitives who might someday be worth talking to. Now they realized that humans had been quietly building the most powerful military force in galactic history. On Earth, President Susan Clark addressed her planet's population for the first time about their true defensive capabilities. She stood in the same office where she had pretended to be scared just hours earlier, but now her voice was strong and confident. "My fellow citizens," she said, "for 50 years we have quietly prepared for this day. We chose to appear weak while becoming strong. We chose to seem helpless while building the greatest defense force our world has ever known. Today we stood united against those who would conquer us, and we showed them that Earth cannot be taken." The speech was broadcast not just to Earth, but to every civilization in the galaxy. For the first time, humans were speaking to the universe as equals rather than as primitives seeking acceptance. The reaction from other alien species was immediate and dramatic. The Velari Confederation, known throughout the galaxy for their advanced science, sent an urgent message requesting a technology exchange. The Drakmori Empire, impressed by human tactical skills, proposed a military alliance. The peaceful Zephyrian Republic asked if humans would be interested in joining their trade networks. Captain George Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Dreadnought, TDS Sovereign, and watched the alien messages pouring in. His ship had single-handedly destroyed 3 Corthony heavy cruisers during the battle, and now alien military experts were trying desperately to understand how human technology had become so advanced. "Sir, we're receiving over 200 communication requests," reported his communications officer. "Everyone wants to talk to us," George nodded. The galaxy's attitude toward humanity had changed completely in just one day. Yesterday, aliens had ignored human messages or treated them like children. Today, they were begging for human attention. The human response to all this new interest was being coordinated by the newly revealed Department of Galactic Affairs. Secretary Helen Adams had been preparing for this moment for 20 years, developing policies for humanity's emergence as a galactic power. "We will engage with the galactic community," Secretary Adams announced in her first public statement, "but we will do so on our own terms. Earth will not be intimidated, conquered, or treated like a child. We are willing to be friends with peaceful civilizations, but we will defend ourselves against any threat." The Corthony Empire, meanwhile, was facing a crisis that threatened their very existence. The loss of their entire invasion fleet had damaged their reputation throughout the galaxy. Other species that had feared Corthony power were now questioning whether the Empire was as strong as it claimed to be. Emperor Vexkai called an emergency meeting of his military leaders. "How did this happen?" he demanded. "How did we completely misjudge human capabilities?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Commander Julia Martinez, head of the Terran Intelligence Division's Alien Infiltration Program, had been waiting 20 years to reveal her work. Now, in a message broadcast to the entire galaxy, she explained how humans had fooled everyone. "For 2 decades, Julia announced, human agents have been living among alien civilizations. Using advanced biotechnology, we modified our appearance to look like various alien species. These agents carefully fed false information to alien intelligence services, creating the illusion of human weakness while gathering detailed data about alien military capabilities. The revelation that humans had been manipulating galactic intelligence for 20 years sent shockwaves through every alien government. The Corthony had never received accurate information about Earth because every piece of data had been carefully crafted by human spies. "We know everything about your weapons, your tactics, and your weaknesses," Julia continued. "You know nothing real about ours? That is why you lost so badly today?" The galaxy's reaction to this news was mixed. Some species, like the peaceful Zephyrians, admired human strategic thinking and intelligence gathering. Others, particularly the more aggressive races, felt angry and betrayed that humans had been lying to them for so long. But the Corthony Empire's response was predictable. Unable to accept their defeat or admit their mistakes, they began mobilizing every ship they had for a second invasion. Emperor Vexkai himself took command of the war effort, assembling a fleet of over 300 vessels. "The humans may have surprised us once," Emperor Vexkai declared, "but they will not do so again. We will bring such force that even their advanced weapons cannot stop us." News of the massive Corthony military buildup reached Earth through the extensive human intelligence network. Agents who had been spying on the Corthony for years sent detailed reports about the enemy's preparations. Admiral Kate Williams, now revealed as the commanding officer of the entire Terran Defense Force, called a meeting of the Global Defense Council. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered in the secret facility beneath the Pacific Ocean. "The Corthony are assembling the largest fleet in their history," Admiral Williams reported. "Over 300 ships, including their most powerful vessels. Emperor Vexkai is commanding personally, and he has vowed to destroy Earth completely." The human response was swift and decisive. The 12 dreadnoughts that had so impressed the galaxy during the first battle were revealed to be only the beginning. Deep in the construction yards hidden behind gas giants, 36 additional dreadnoughts were nearing completion. Commander Nicole Wright, who had been overseeing the secret construction projects, reported to Admiral Williams through a secure channel. The second wave of dreadnoughts will be ready within the month. We also have the new weapon systems installed and tested. What about the planetary defenses? Admiral Williams asked. The Sol defense grid is fully operational, Commander Wright replied. Every asteroid in the belt has been weaponized. The moon bases are ready. The orbital platforms are in position. If the Corthini want to attack our home system, they'll find it's become one giant weapon. While humans prepared for the coming battle, the rest of the galaxy watched nervously. The first fight between Earth and the Corthini had been shocking enough. Now, two of the most powerful military forces in known space were preparing for a confrontation that could reshape the balance of power forever. Many alien civilizations began choosing sides. The Valari Confederation announced their support for Earth, impressed by human scientific achievements. The Drakmori Empire remained neutral but quietly began moving their fleets away from Corthini space. The peaceful species formed a coalition to try to negotiate a peaceful solution, but the Corthini Empire was beyond negotiation. Emperor Vexkai had staked his entire empire's reputation on defeating the humans. His pride and his political survival depended on proving that the Corthini were still the dominant military force in the galaxy. We will not be humiliated by these upstart humans, Emperor Vexkai announced to his people. The Corthini Empire has conquered 17 worlds. We will not be stopped by the 18th. As the Corthini fleet prepared to depart for Earth, alien intelligence services tried desperately to gather accurate information about human military capabilities. But they quickly discovered that their usual sources had gone silent. The human agents who had been feeding them false information for 20 years had simply disappeared. Secretary Adams held a press conference that was broadcast throughout the galaxy. The age of alien empires treating other species as subjects is over, she declared. Earth stands ready to defend not just ourselves but any civilization that faces unprovoked aggression. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer hiding in the shadows. They had revealed themselves as a major galactic power, and they intended to use that power to change how civilizations treated each other. The galaxy held its breath as the largest military confrontation in its history approached. Two fleets, each representing a different vision of how the universe should work, were about to collide. The outcome would determine whether the future belonged to aggressive empires or to civilizations that believed in peace through strength. The quiet planet had spoken once, and the galaxy had listened. Now Earth was about to speak again, and this time the message would be heard across every star system in known space. The Second Corthini Invasion Fleet was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 312 ships stretched across space in a formation that blotted out the stars. At the center of this massive armada was the Divine Wrath, Emperor Vexkai's personal dreadnought and the pride of the Corthini Empire. Emperor Vexkai stood on his bridge and looked at the blue planet that had humiliated his forces. This time would be different. This time he had brought enough firepower to turn Earth into a lifeless rock floating in space. Begin the final approach, Emperor Vexkai commanded. Today we restore the honor of the Corthini Empire. But as the alien fleet moved toward Earth, they found themselves facing something unprecedented. The human response was not just larger than before, it was overwhelming. 48 human dreadnoughts took position throughout the solar system, supported by hundreds of smaller vessels. The entire solar system had become a fortress. Admiral Kate Williams stood on the bridge of the TDS Defiance and watched the approaching enemy fleet. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. Around her, the combined might of humanity's military waited for her orders. "Open a channel to all ships," Admiral Williams said. "Today we fight not for conquest or revenge. We fight to prove that no civilization should live in fear of bullies. We fight to show the galaxy that peaceful people can be the strongest people when they stand together." The battle began at the edge of the solar system, where Pluto's orbit marked the boundary of human space. The Corthini fleet, learning from their previous defeat, used new tactics and weapons specifically designed to counter human technology. The engagement was fierce and brutal, with explosions lighting up the darkness of space. Captain Robert Hayes commanded the Dreadnought TDS Invincible and found himself in direct combat with Emperor Vexsky's flagship. The two massive vessels exchanged devastating attacks, their weapons turning space around them into a deadly light show. "Their shields are much stronger this time," Captain Hayes reported over the communication network. "They've been studying our weapons and building better defenses." For the first time since the conflict began, humans were taking significant casualties. The Corthony had spent months analyzing the wreckage from their first defeat and had developed new armor and shields that could withstand human weapons much better than before, but humanity had not been idle either. Commander Patricia Bell sat in the control center of the Mogul Command Station Olympus, hidden deep in the asteroid belt. She had been waiting for this moment since the enemy fleet entered the solar system. Now it was time to spring humanity's greatest trap. "Activate the Sol defense grid," Commander Bell ordered. Suddenly, the entire solar system became a weapon. Hidden defense platforms throughout the asteroid belt came online, revealing themselves to be massive gun emplacements that had been disguised as ordinary rocks. Weapon arrays hidden on the moons of Jupiter, Saturn, and the other gas giants began firing. Orbital fortresses that had looked like abandoned space stations revealed their true nature as military installations. The Corthony fleet found themselves caught in a maze of overlapping weapons fire. No matter where they turned, human guns were shooting at them from multiple directions. The carefully planned invasion formation began to fall apart as ships tried desperately to avoid the constant attacks. Emperor Vexsky realized that the humans had turned their entire solar system into one giant military base. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "No civilization has ever weaponized an entire star system." But humans had done exactly that. While the aliens had been building traditional fleets, humans had been thinking bigger. Every asteroid had been hollowed out and filled with weapons. Every moon had been turned into a fortress. Every piece of space debris had been converted into a sensor or a gun. The tide of battle turned decisively when Emperor Vexsky made his final desperate move. Seeing his fleet being systematically destroyed, he ordered his remaining ships to target Earth directly. If he couldn't conquer the planet, he would destroy it completely. "All ships, target the human homeworld," Emperor Vexsky commanded. "Fire everything we have at their planet. We will show them the price of defying the Corthony Empire." The attack never reached Earth. General Karen Foster commanded the moon-based defense systems from her bunker beneath the lunar surface. As hundreds of Corthony missiles and energy beams approached Earth, she activated the planetary shield network. Massive generators hidden beneath Earth's surface for 50 years came online simultaneously. A shimmering energy barrier appeared around the entire planet, absorbing every attack the Corthony could throw at it. The shield was so powerful that it turned the alien weapons into harmless light shows, but the final surprise was still to come. The space stations orbiting Earth, which the aliens had always dismissed as primitive research facilities, suddenly revealed their true nature. Each station deployed weapon systems that made even the Dreadnoughts look small. These were humanity's ultimate defensive weapons, designed to protect the homeworld from any threat. The weapons fired once, and Emperor Vexsky's flagship simply ceased to exist. The divine wrath, the pride of the Corthony Empire, was vaporized so completely that not even debris remained. The Battle of Sol lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Corthony Empire had lost 90% of their fleet. Of the 312 ships that had approached Earth with such confidence, fewer than 30 limped away from the battle. Emperor Vexsky was dead, along with most of the Corthony military leadership. Human casualties were remarkably light. Only 12 ships had been lost, and fewer than 3,000 military personnel had died. The overwhelming superiority of human technology and tactics had made the difference. The galaxy's reaction was immediate and profound. Within hours of the battle's end, the Draconian hegemony, previously considered the most powerful military force in space, sent urgent messages requesting peace treaties with Earth. The Galactic Council voted unanimously to offer humanity a permanent seat with full membership rights, but the most significant change was in how the galaxy thought about war itself. The human victory had been so complete and so overwhelming that many species began to question whether military conquest was even possible anymore. The age of galactic empires expanding through force had ended. President Susan Clark addressed the United Nations and the world in a speech that was broadcast to every civilization in the galaxy. "We have proven that we cannot be conquered," she said. "Now we must prove that we can be trusted with the power we have revealed. Earth will be a force for peace in the galaxy, but we will never again hide our strength." The establishment of the Terran Galactic Authority marked the beginning of a new era in interstellar relations. Secretary Helen Adams, now serving as Earth's first galactic ambassador, worked with alien diplomats to create new rules for how civilizations would interact with each other. "The old way of doing things is finished," Ambassador Adams announced. "No more will strong species prey on weak ones. No more will civilizations live in fear of conquest. The galaxy has seen what happens to those who threaten peaceful worlds. The Korthani Empire, faced with the loss of their entire military and the death of their emperor, was forced to surrender unconditionally. Under human supervision, they began the process of dismantling their war machine and transforming their society from a military dictatorship into a peaceful democracy. Commander Lisa Grant, overseeing the decommissioning of the Korthani war fleet, reflected on how much the galaxy had changed. "They thought we were defenseless because we chose to be quiet," she said. "They mistook our patience for weakness and our peaceful nature for helplessness. Now they know that the most dangerous enemies are often those who look the most harmless." The human strategy of hidden strength had worked perfectly. For 50 years, Earth had appeared weak while secretly becoming the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. The deception had protected humanity and had fundamentally changed how the galaxy thought about power and war. As the story reached its conclusion, alien civilizations settled into a new reality where humanity stood as both protector and participant in galactic society. The quiet planet had finally spoken, and its voice had been heard across every star system in known space. The Dreadnoughts that had once hidden in the shadows now patrolled the space lanes, ensuring that no species would ever again face the threat of unprovoked invasion. Trade routes that had been controlled by military empires became open to all peaceful civilizations. The galaxy learned that true strength comes not from the willingness to attack, but from the ability to defend. Earth had taught the universe that sometimes the most peaceful people can be the strongest people. When they choose to stand up for what is right, the age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and it all started when the galaxy thought Earth was defenseless until the Dreadnoughts came.